Monday, November 25th, quick one-up video for you wonderful ladies and gentlemen. We obviously have a holiday abbreviated week. Some of you will probably not be around for the rest of it. Thursday, the market's closed for Thanksgiving, and then on Friday, it closes at 1 p.m. Options trade until 1:15, but it's usually fairly thin volume. Holiday weeks aren't always up, but they tend to have upward drift, particularly in a bullish tape. There's really not that much that's lagging in the tape at this point, although you did see some of the big Mag 7 names underperform today. I think there was a little bit of rotation into some other stocks. The VIX is really not doing very much here. It is just plummeting. We're back into the 14s. I generally like buying premium here. I like being long calls or long call spreads or long puts or long put spreads for hedges. And with the VIX down in these low levels, I like putting on end of year rally hedges. Either buying index ETF put spreads or outright onto stocks that you own. If you want to sell some upside calls against it to help fund it, I'm good with that as well. I know that the Nigerians today were out with, there's some type of a play going on in January with 30-50 call spread in the VIX that they're layering into. I would be a little more concerned if it was closer to the money, but you never know, and I will keep an eye on that. With regard to the ES and the NQ, we basically got back to where we had broken down the prior Friday, this last Friday, and then today we were up a little bit more. I think bulls are okay as long as they can hold over 59.90 quarter to wherever the 200 MA 30-minute is, currently at 59.68 and rising. Anything above there to me is bullish. If we break down below there, we could come back to the 59.28 area, 59.50 zone. Q's similar situation. We did finally today check back to the breakdown between 21,054.75 and 21,121.75. It rejected very quickly, and we saw the liquidation break down to the 20,768.75 level, roughly also the 200 MA 30-minute. Bulls there need to get over the 21,054.75 to 21,121.75. Anything below there to me is sideways to lower. Above there, I think there could be moves still higher. If we're over the 200 MA 30-minute, generally, I'm into buying dips. If we're below there, I'm usually into selling rips. I think there was also a little bit of risk-off sentiment today because of what happened with the reversal in Bitcoin off the 100,000-ish area, which was expected. The SPY got 600 again. We technically do have a mini look above and fail of the 1111 high, which was 617. Today we got 686. Very simple. Bulls need to get at least back up over 600 and hold. To me, it seemed that people who didn't sell 600 before decided to do a little bit of that today. But now, anything below 600.17 to me is sideways to lower. Anything above there is sideways to higher. Where would we go up to? The 2 times range is 604.35. If we went up to the yellow channel high and we did it tomorrow, it would be 607.33. We backed off from the 100% retracement at the 617 down to the 78.6. We actually overshot it a little bit at 596.68, so anything over 596.68 to me is still okay. Below there, we're coming down to the 61.8 at 593.94, and then the 50% fib would be 592.02. We just go from level to level, MA to MA. I generally think pullbacks to the 10 MA after hitting the 600, though, are kind of all right. So that's 592.89 and rising. Below there, I do think that there is larger liquidation break back to at least the 20 MA at 588.02, and we know that that was what held last week on the pullback. We covered the 20 MA on that first dip there right on 11.15. If the 20 MA fails, then we're looking at 50 MA, that whole MA to MA, fib to fib thing, so 580. Let's do $10 wide, right? 590, 580. Basically 10 MA, 50 MA. I'm good with that. You want to do an override and it's longer dated, something down closer to the 100 MA, currently 565-ish if you want to do that override, but careful with that, smaller size, because if we do get a large pullback, you'll have both price and volatility going against you, and coming from a low base with the VIX, that could get painful. For example, if we go from 14 to 23, it'll be a little painful, but if we went from 14 to 43, you'd be in some serious you-know-what. As far as the Qs go, they have been lagging. We did not make a new high today. We did finally fill the 1114 gap to 508.69 and pulled back. I can use today's range there as a gauge. If we got over the high at 511.45, I think we would come up to the 515.58 reference high, and then the 2 times range is at 525.30. The channel high, if we were to do it, is close to 530. What do the bulls need to hold here? Very, very simple. They need to hold the 501.35 to 503.52. JP, is 500 good enough? Yes. If 500 holds, I'm fine. That area roughly needs to hold. I don't want to, nickel and dime it for $1 or $2 with the Qs. But if that can't hold 500, I do think that there is a larger liquidation break, because if you're long, you don't want to lose the 5 handle, right? Generally, that's my thinking there. With regard to TLT, we did get the gap and go above the 20 MA like I was looking for. We actually had bought it a little bit lower when we noticed that the money flow wasn't confirming new lows. So what now? I'm thinking that there are some gap fills and some fibs to retrace. The 10-18 gap fill is 93.86. The 38.2 is 94.49. At the very least, we should get there. If there's an inside day tomorrow, a dubstep situation, you could use whatever that low of day is as a stop and long it up over today's high of day of over 92.78. The 50 MA is roughly at that gap fill, so that could be some resistance. After that, I'm looking at the 95.31 to 95.53. That's the 10-16 gap fill up to the 50% fib. I ultimately do think that this will fill the gap to 96.74 to 96.97. I have some sell orders up there, but I would be trimming at the 38.2, the 50% fib, and the 61.8. So to button it up, 94.49, 95.53, 96.97. Bitcoin. So the futures got the 100K. The Bitcoin actually didn't. We did hold the 10 MA on the dip today. I think that is the key, that 93,645. If that fails, there could be a larger liquidation break to the 20 MA, which would line up actually with the 2 times range at 84,905. I think that the first test of the 20 MA is likely a buy the dip, but if that fails, there is a gap to fill from the 11.8 close to 77,100. That would be a pretty sizable pullback, but we have seen Bitcoin have those sizable pullbacks. I think the bulls here will need to recapture and hold over the 100 level, or else they're going to have some issues. On Friday, did book Baito, and I think that that was just because we were up a lot, and I basically got the fill with the volatility pump into the end of the day. That would have been the 27 goal at the 61.8. So today we got the pullback. Short term, I think we need to hold 24.36 to 24.95. The 200 MA is a little below at 23.67, so it's a little fungible. I would actually buy the dip there right or right out, although I would prefer the key MA for Baito, by the way, is the 50 MA. So if you're long and you want to put on some hedges, maybe buy 24, sell 20. That makes some sense to me, basically the 200 MA and 50 MA. NVIDIA, not acting super well post-earnings, and we actually broke down below the 140.76. There is some support coming in closer to 132.11, which was the Halloween low. The big thing here, though, is if that holds, do we have a head and shoulders forming? I would be interested, particularly if we come down hard and fast, to buy the dip at the 100 MA around 125.88 and rising, because that lines up with the green channel, and that's the primary trend. If you're looking to buy the dip, the 125s would be the area for me. Apple acting fairly well today. We've talked about that being trading in a range, and I had told you I didn't agree with Carter Worth with regard to the head and shoulders. And if anything, it might be a little bit negated here because you did take out the prior right shoulder. Problem for Apple, though, is that it's in a range between 232.92 to 237.23. I would be booking accordingly. Traders trade the range until it pops out, always on guard for look above and fails. If we were to keep going, 255.27 is the 2 times range. And then on some other time frames, you have 261s and 266s. The googliness, a little bit of a bounce today, but it's still below the key 169s. It did hold the 200 MA, which was a nice little right or right out play at 164.09. I think that now must hold. I would love that to break, actually, for a move down to primary trend. If it did it tomorrow, it probably won't. It would be 159. I think that zone, the 159.74 to 160.69, which is the 61.8, and reference lows from back on 10.9, will likely buy the dip, but we could have a bit of a higher low here, and I think the 200 MA is our key pass line for the health of the stock. Again, that's 164.09 and rising. Tesla. Obviously, Elon Musk is the BFF with the president, and I think that we're seeing a little bit of selling at some reference highs. Pretty nasty reversal candle today, intraday. The buy stop to me would be up over the high if we got over 361.93. Then I think we'd go to the 403s. We're still above the 10 MA, so it's not an OF moment just yet. But if we lose the 10 MA at 334.82 and rising, we probably come back down to the 20 MA at 305.75. If you want to do some type of a hedge, 300, 270, $30 wide makes sense. And if you want to sell upside 400 calls longer dated against it to help fund it, I like that very much. Dollar has not been helping out the bulls at all. Although today we did have a bit of an inside day, a tiny bit above the Friday high. Very simple, over high of day here at 107.504 could put the 109s in play. I'm only really comfortable with the dollar pulling back if we lose 106.517 and 106.126. We're still holding the 10 MA, and 10 MA is getting bought as bullish for chart patterns. If 10 MA is a loss, we come down to 20 MAs, currently 105.653 and rising. Gold, pretty nasty move down today. I had told you I thought that we were going to respect the channel, and we did. We didn't even get to the channel high, which would have been 251.15. And I had said that I thought the 20 MA, and actually on Friday, that was a bit of an area to sell into. There is a gap to fill up at 253.40. I don't know if we're going to get that just yet. Eventually we may. The gold pullback today did hold the 10 MA. So if you want to be long against 241.92 or today's low of day at 241.48, I'm all right with that. It took out almost 4 or 5 days worth of trading in one session, so that to me could be problematic, and this is starting to look a little bit head and shoulders-ish. The gold really, I think, needs the dollar to chillax, and if Bitcoin can't rally, gold is probably not going to rally either. Generally speaking, I still like using up opens to trim gains, put on hedges. VIX is super low here, and I think that there could still be a year-end rally. I'd be surprised if the highs are in. But you're still seeing sellers sell 6,000, basically the 600 level, and the 21,000s in the queues. I think that the bulls are still in good position here. There has been some rotation. You saw a little money come out of tech and flow into some of the catch-up plays. Generally, toward the end of the move, though, the junk rises last. Don't ignore if these big mega cap names start trending lower. That, to me, would spell eventual doom for the tape, even though short term it would probably continue to boost it. Those names are the girl that got us here, and we want to stick with the ones that did. Yes, intraday or day-to-day there can be some rotation, but we don't want that to become a pattern. Like and follow for more.